hard to be friends really or I find, with someone who's chasing the same dream as you. So we got along pretty well, but we didn't hang out as much as we probably should have for how similar we are and how much we get along. So yeah, it's been awesome being here. He was obviously a huge help and encouragement, I guess, to come over here. But yeah, being able to hang out with him and Carly, and it's been really cool.
This is the KTM Summer Grill. I'm Andrew Van Leeuwen and I'm joined by Simon Chapman and a man who has become pretty much an instant NASCAR sensation. Of course, I mean, our very own, we're still going to claim him, Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane, thanks for joining us. How is life going in the States, apart from the fact that it's snowing and you're freezing?
Yeah, apart from that, it's pretty good. But yeah, I've actually been a little bored last couple of weeks. The first week was good when the season finished, to have a week off, and then now I'm ready to race again. It's pretty brutal racing every week, but it's awesome, and you're getting this nice rhythm and know what you're doing almost every day of the week for the whole year. So it's been pretty cool. But yeah, I'm this time of year sucks here. It's cold, freezing, miserable, but I'm looking forward to getting back to New Zealand next week and going some sprint car racing and seeing my dad over there.
Did it take any sort of adjustment to that schedule of racing, like you said, pretty much every single weekend? Because it does sound pretty grueling, but also, I mean, we know that you just love racing and you're probably just loving it.
No, well, that's something I tried to do the last few years, was race as much as I could. We didn't really race enough in the V8s, and yeah, getting to race every week was awesome. You know what you're racing, what you're doing. You could prepare straight away and every Monday or Tuesday, and yeah, as long as you're having fun, it was good. There was a few weeks we had a couple of rough weeks in a row, and it gets not hard to be motivated, but you need to get that momentum going, which is hard because every single week is a different track. Like there's never there's never the same type of track every week, so it's hard to get that momentum going because the challenges are so variable. It's pretty cool.
What have you been doing to keep yourself busy since the NASCAR season finished? I heard you might be carving out a racetrack in your backyard.
I might have done some cheeky laps this morning in the snow. That was a bit of fun. So yeah, brought some ship boxes and made a fun little track, which is cool. But yeah, it's just been it's been pretty full on actually at Trackhouse with the new team. I guess having the third car with they've hired 30-something people. So half of them started a few weeks ago, and then half started actually on Monday this week in December. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool transition, getting to know those guys and trying to get integrated in that team and getting to know my crew chief, Stephen Doran. We've done a couple of simulator sessions with the 88 team, and yeah, it's been pretty cool to get started early, because when I come back in January, it's going to be all go.
You speak about the hiring process on your own podcast with Scott Pye on Apex Hunters United. You sort of mentioned that it'd be cool to get maybe a few Supercars guys over from AAA. Has there been any discussions around that? Is there maybe some familiar faces that we might know turning up at the team next year?
Not immediately, but yeah, certainly trying. There's a lot of good guys and people, I guess, in my position, want to go try something different and experience something else. So yeah, there's a lot of interest, but it's a huge commitment, especially for guys with families, to move across the other side of the world and start something fresh. So yeah, I'd love to have a couple of guys come over and join me. There's certainly a lot of similarities, I guess, with the Cup car on road courses that we could really learn from Supercars guys and try and bring those ideas across and really bolster our, we've got some great guys here, but it would be good to have some road course focused guys and build up that program.
You talk about moving across to the other side of the world and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's a process that you've gone through. How are you acclimatizing in general to, what is a very different culture to Australia? Just personally, what's it like living over there?
It's been a lot. It's been different. I'm really I do miss home a lot. I loved getting back to New Zealand when I could, and it was a very tough start to the year. We probably could have lived in a little bit of a better spot. It took Jess a bit to get comfortable as well, and then my mum was quite sick early in the year as well, as soon as I moved over. So it was very difficult in the first half of the year, personally. But once we sort of got settled and some momentum with some racing, and then we found our own place where we wanted to live, it's really been it's been a lot better these last few months on the off-track stuff. But yeah, living on the other side of the world from all your friends and family makes it very tough. But yeah, it's ultimately worth it. And I had a few guys end up coming to races, and Dad come to some races later in the year, and it was really cool to have him come along.
What's your relationship like with Scotty Mack? Obviously, it's good to have another Kiwi over there. We spoke to him the other day, and he said that it's actually maybe a little bit weird because you guys were so used to just being like at each other's throats at Supercars, and now you guys can actually just be mates and watch American football together.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's life's obviously different for each other now, and you're cheering for each other and talking a lot. It's hard to be friends, really, I find, with someone who's chasing the same dream as you. So we got along pretty well, but, we didn't hang out as much as we probably should have for how similar we are and how much we get along. So, yeah, it's been awesome being here. He was obviously a huge help and encouragement, I guess, to come over here. But, yeah, being able to hang out with him and Carly, and it's been really cool. And unfortunately, our football team here sucks, but he's been trying to drag me along and get into football. I went to my first Panthers game on the weekend, and yeah, I had a blast actually. But hopefully our team gets a little better.
How do you reflect on your Xfinity season? I mean, 3 wins in the playoffs. Yep. Like I think holding your own is a complete understatement. How do you reflect on your first full season on the NASCAR scene?
Yeah, good question. I'm definitely glad I did a season of Xfinity, even though the cars are night and day different. I think jumping straight into Cup, I would have, it would have been brutal initiation. So to have a year to transition to life, I guess, and then the cars, the series, the way the tracks are, the weekends work, the flow of it all is very different. So I think it's not an under the radar year, but it was good to have a year to learn before moving into the Cup Series. I think what Justin, Ty, and the Trackhouse guys came up with was a really good way to do it. It sort of snowballed a lot throughout the year. I think when I went to move over here, it was only going to be 7 Cup races and 10 to 15 Xfinity, and it quickly snowballed to a full season, and then we got a lot more Cup races than we thought. So yeah, I got a huge amount of experience and a lot of learnings I can take into next year. So yeah, I definitely think the ovals are still going to take time. I felt like I made some progress, particularly on the Cup side. Later in the year, we hit some really good speed at Martinsville, and some speed at Vegas in periods of the race. And yeah, I don't know. We just got to keep building on that, but it's going to take time. The ovals are so different from anything I've ever done, but I find it really fun and such a good challenge every week.
It's a huge challenge that you did take on. And when you think about the fact that you had so much success in supercars and you understood the sport so well and you understood the cars, and I know the Gen 3 car wasn't exactly to your liking, but I mean, realistically, you would have been in a position to challenge for the championship and very likely win the championship if you'd stayed here. Are there ever moments when you're really sort of struggling to get your head around something over there? You think, geez, I tell you what, it was pretty easy over there. I wish I could go back.
Well, yes and no. The expectation and reality of what you're going to finish every week certainly changed. But man, like Bristol, for example, I've never had so much fun coming 18th and getting lapped. Like, it was the best race I've had, and you're just battling the whole time. I forget who I was battling, but we were, swapping from the inside to the outside, just on the edge the whole time. And then all of a sudden I'm getting hit by the leader as he's lapping me. It was crazy. But yeah, obviously, you can't just be having fun. Like, I need to start getting results on the ovals, and I really felt like we were getting better and better. We were on a real upward trajectory, and then we had a crew chief change and some other things in it, and we sort of plateaued a lot or even went backwards. But yeah, eventually got to stop having fun and start trying to push forward, and that's what I think the second half of next year will be like. But yeah, it's I don't have any bad thoughts about missing out on potentially another championship in Supercars. I feel like it was Marcus Ambrose was really the he just pushed me so much. He said, you got to go over there and have a crack while you can. It's you won't regret it, and I definitely haven't.
Have you spoke to Marcus frequently throughout the season?
Yeah, so at the start of the year, it was pretty much every single week we would talk, which was great, and then it sort of petered out a bit throughout the year. But we messaged a lot, and he was an amazing person to talk to. Him and Kevin Harvick were my main coaches or go-to people for advice, and Kevin obviously is a Sprint Cup champion. But he would forget that I have never done this before and stuff. The basic stuff to him is it's like he learned when he was 10 years old, and it was stuff like what Marcus would tell me, the basics that you just, Kevin doesn't even think about. So it was good sounding off those two guys and knowing Marcus, basically knowing what I'd go through and what I'd struggle with and what I need to look for. And like, man, I would get like the first couple of races like Atlanta, which is pretty much an easy flat track all the way around. I'd be 15 laps into the race and out of breath, I'm just super tense. My heart rate would be off at the maximum. And, you just got to learn to sit in the seat, relax, feel the tire. And, you look at half of those American guys and they've never been to the gym or for a run in their life, and they jump out, they're not even, it's like they haven't even done a race, and you just got to get in there, and the way you drive is completely different. You almost slouch and fall and collapse in the seat and just roll with the car. It's it's a completely different way of driving rather than being on top of it and grabbing it by the scuff of the neck. You're kind of finessing it the whole time while you're doing 300 Ks into a corner. It's pretty cool.
Did the sort of the sprint car stuff you did help, particularly with stuff like that? Because I know with sprint car racing, it's important to remember to breathe, particularly on shorter tracks. Like, it sounds silly, but to remember to take a breath and not just hold your breath while you're tipping into a corner. Was there some learnings from that oval racing, even though it is obviously very different to NASCAR racing?
Oh, 100%. And you're right. It's not a silly thing to say. Like, I've done a 8-lap sprint car race at Western Springs, and you're just completely dead after because you basically haven't breathed the whole time. You're just hanging on, and your senses are so heightened and everything. So, yeah, you definitely got to approach it differently. Tell yourself to relax and just settle into the race. But I think the sprint car is perfect for that. That's why I'm doing more of it. Obviously, it's fun as well, but it's really also about reading the track, lane choice, working in traffic, making those split-second decisions, because at NASCAR, that's probably one of the biggest things is how the track moves and how you can see the track moving with the rubber and getting better. I think the best ovals that I did were tracks where that didn't happen. It was all one line stuff like Martinsville and Indianapolis, where there's only one line through the corner. That's where I had my best results. It's the tracks where the grip moved around, the line moved around is where I need to keep improving at. So I definitely think sprint cars will help that.
After all those years of success in supercars, how much enjoyment are you getting from actually like learning an entirely new discipline where you, I guess, like you say, finishing 16th some days is actually feeling like a win?
Yeah, it's that enjoyment. I guess, it's always something new as well. A new challenge is always refreshing. I'd kind of been lost that a bit in Australia. And I think I love the feeling of getting in a car and, I'm putting my helmet on, shaking, and you got that anxiety or nervousness, knowing, not knowing how good you're going to be, how's the race going to go, that pressure. And, probably last year, I probably only got that at Bathurst, and I made, Richie started the race, so I didn't get it as bad, but it's not something I would feel that often anymore. But yeah, whenever you're jumping in a sprint car, an animal of a car, that feeling of, holy shit, to go for it now. And, it was almost every race this year, the pre-race stuff, the anthem, the patriotism, and then when you're doing the warm up laps, the crowd, and just I don't know, it's just that cool feeling and that nervousness. That's what you live for as a driver, and I do, and that excitement every week was a pretty cool feeling to have back.
And next year you're stepping up into the Cup Series full-time Trackhouse racing. I guess, can you sort of tell us a little bit about that dynamic? Obviously this year those one-offs have been with Corlig. Do you have to learn quite a lot? Like, obviously new people, I guess you're still familiar with the team. Maybe some of their processes are a little bit different. Like, what does next year look like for you?
Yeah, so I haven't actually done the Cup racing this year with Trackhouse. So there was half the races, basically the car was prepared at Trackhouse, but then it would be handed off to Corlig and go in their truck and be run by their people. So it was a little bit awkward at the start, just trying to understand the mechanics of it all, and it took a few races to refine that. And then, so next year is basically, it's going to be a whole new team or section of the team out of Trackhouse, with the 88 car becoming a third car. And so a lot of those guys were with Zane Smith on the 71 this year at the team he drove for, and then a lot of the other half of the guys, are coming from the Stuart Haas team, which is closed down, and they're people that Kevin and Stephen Doran, my crew chief, work with. So the guys all know each other, which is a good head start, and hopefully can hit the ground running there.
One very cool thing next year is that you're going to be running number 88. Obviously, you're very synonymous with 97, but that number in NASCAR obviously has a lot of history attached to it. Probably, I guess for myself and AVR, we're probably more familiar with Dale Earnhardt Jr. running that number, but there are so many legends of the sport who have run it. How special is it for you to be racing with that number next year?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the other one who was before Dale Earnhardt was Dale Jarrett. So that's got two pretty big drivers, and having Dale Earnhardt text me the day before we announced it about how cool it was, and how he hopes I represent it well and stuff. So nothing like a bit of pressure there, but pretty cool to have that meaning. Obviously, I would have loved to have raced with 97, but 88 is a special number. And then, of course, in the world we're from as well, with Jamie, like, it's a number I looked up to, even though he had number 1 on most of the time. 88 was a pretty special number to race against as well. So that's pretty cool.
I was going to say, is it kind of weird being in the 88? You did sit next to it for so long. Was it a little strange going? To me, it does feel strange. Like Shane Van Gisbergen in the 88. It's a bit of
it is a bit weird, actually. Yeah, but I get past that pretty quick.
How have you found the fan reception? Obviously, in supercars, you were at a point where you're at the front, you're challenging for titles. The people that like you love you, and the people that like the guy you're racing against hate you, right? That's how sport fandom kind of works. You've had this opportunity to go over there, and you're totally different to anything they've seemingly ever seen before. You've had this amazing reception. How have you found that?
Yeah, it's been pretty overwhelming, especially like Chicago and stuff, the amount of people there, and for the second time around. And we went to a WeatherTech store appearance in Chicago, and there was a line, 300 people or something, 200 people. It was ridiculous, but it's amazing and pretty humbling, really. And you're kind of right in your question. You don't really get that polarizing effect here. People just kind of cheer for you, but not against you. They just cheer for other people. It's a little different, but it's been awesome here, the reception and how welcoming everyone has been. They seem to be accepting of people who are different, which is cool. I speak a little funny here, I guess, for most people, but also it's been unbelievable the amount of Kiwi flags. You see a New Zealand flag in the stands at probably 3/4 of the races. That's been unreal. And then a few Aussie flags as well, which sort of okay. But yeah, it's been pretty cool to see so many people come over and support.
You'll always be the man who introduced the term wobbler to the wider world. But it's where did the rugby ball idea come from? And do they start pumping one up sort of when it's starting to look good, or do you just give a couple of spares in the truck? How does it work?
Yeah, so that's the Trackhouse idea. So Ross has the watermelon. He's a fifth generation watermelon farmer. He smashes a perfectly good watermelon. And Daniel, being Mexican, he smashes up a piñata. So there's a piñata and a watermelon and a rugby ball in all of our trucks. So yeah, but I guess Sonoma, I think it was, they forgot to put air in it. So that kick, I thought I got it perfect, but the ball was flat, so I didn't go very far. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Cool to have something different.
You can add rugby excuses to your race car driver excuse book now as well.
Yeah.
Let's touch on Supercars quickly. Next year is obviously massive for the sport. There's a lot going on with the broadcast deal, but the biggest thing that's coming is the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of drivers who are going to be a factor next year. What are your thoughts on how the playoffs might work in Supercars and whether or not it's a good thing?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good thing. I kind of trying to, I think it's a good thing. I think it needs to be spiced up, but there's probably a fair few things they could have done a little better. Like I remember 2007 or 8 when I started, they paid points to 15th. So pretty much, I remember finishing that year and the bottom half of the championship, they all got beaten by the endurance guys who had good weekends, and it kind of takes the fight away from the bottom half of the championship. And without having that win and you're in, it doesn't give them that hope or desperation to do something special like they could have. And then especially in the playoff scene, that first round or two, if you've had a great year, say Cam Waters, for example, wins the championship, dominates, and he has this race to the playoffs, he's got no way to dig himself out of it, by getting a win or, so I think you'll find guys just points race because it's all about points, and you'll take the easy option just to get the points because you can't really lock yourself in. So I'm hesitant that it might make the racing a bit stale in some ways because people will just points race. And then I don't really understand how the last round works, having, all the points for one round, but then you got a shitty little race on Friday, so I don't understand. You could have had an opportunity to bring back the way the Clipsal 500 used to work, and it was just one race, pause overnight, reset, and then have the winner takes all on Sunday. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's good in concept, but it could be spiced up just that little bit more. But when you read all the stuff in NASCAR, they're complaining about our way being a bit much with the random winners. Joey Logano having a couple of race wins that were maybe lucky, and he comes away with a championship. So, yeah, it's a fine line, But for me, it's close to being good, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Coming back to what you're doing over there in the States, where do your expectations sort of lie for your first full Cup season next year? And this car, is this going to suit you better just because of how similar it is to a supercar?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Expectations, I don't really know, but for sure it's going to be difficult at the start of the year, and then towards the middle of the year I'll start getting in, learning the car, getting used to racing every week, or that car every week. And then middle of the year, there's a lot of road courses too, which are obviously going to be our strengths. So, yeah, I just got to be patient, not force it, try and learn something, get better every week, and try and keep getting solid results. But, yeah, you don't know. Like, you see, it's so hard. As I said earlier, there's no rhythm with the type of track. So you see people's season graph, and it's all over the place, which is pretty cool as a fan, but as a team guy, it's hard to get in that rhythm. So, yeah, excited to, just work hard every week and try and do the best I can and keep learning.
Does that take the pressure off in any way? But because there is maybe no expectation that anybody just rolls up. In supercars, if you're having a bad day, it was painfully obvious that you were having a bad day because we're so used to seeing you right up the front. Does it ease the pressure a little bit that it is a sort of peaks and troughs sort of game over there?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you're right. Like if you had a fourth or a fifth in supercars, it was a bad day, So certainly, you can get a 10th or a 12th like I did at Martinsville this year, and that's an awesome day. It's very, very very different. You're just trying to accumulate top 15s, top 10s, and it's, as I said, it's a very different. It's a big mind shift to understand. A big mindset shift. Sorry, to turn up with every week. It's been very, very different in that regard.
And Will Brown has set his sights on getting over to Chicago to make another. Well, he'd like to do a Cup Series start there in 2025. Yep. How fun would it be to be banging doors, or not doors? I know NASCARs don't have doors, but rubbing panels with Will Brown around the Chicago street circuit.
Yeah, that'd be good. Like he did an amazing job, particularly in practice, and then qualifying he had a few issues, and then in the race. But yeah, spotting for him was pretty cool on the race there at Sonoma, and yeah, I would have loved to have seen what he did if the car had ran a little better. So I think he's going to have one or two, maybe more races, and yeah, hopefully he's up front. We can be battling each other.
Well, Shane, thanks for taking the time to join us on the KTM Summer Grill. We're loving seeing what you're doing over there, and we can't wait to see you have a fantastic 2025.
No, thank you, and yeah, thanks for all the coverage every week too.
Thanks for tuning in to the KTM Summer Grill. With each episode, we are giving away one of these cool KTM goodie bags. Don't miss your chance to win. If you're watching via Speak Cafe, enter your details below. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description.